I'm here in this beautiful new library at Cardinal Ritter High School. For me, it is a special place because I served as the school's first president. Cardinal Ritter High School and all the schools of the Archdiocese are here today not by accident, but as the legacy of leadership and faith that has sustained our Catholic schools for over 175 years. Ours is a story of obstacles overcome and great challenges. That has never been more true than over the past 10 years. This decade began with an historic $10 million challenge grant from Lilly Endowment for school improvement, concentrating inside the classroom. Recognizing the need, corporations, foundations, government, and private donors matched the Lilly grant with an additional $8 million. The resulting program was called Project Exceed. To keep our future secure, 16 schools in the Archdiocese are participating in a strategic management and development program. The purpose is to maintain and increase enrollment by effectively communicating the story of our Catholic schools, a story that began 175 years ago. As we look back at the history of Catholic education in the Archdiocese, it seems that Providence has always provided the right leader at the right time. Now, this was especially true of our very first bishop, Simon Broutet. He was once described by President John Quincy Adams as the most educated man in America. Ironically, the humble Bishop Broutet did not feel worthy to lead the fledgling Diocese of Vincennes.
He felt that the most significant factor that disqualified him was his total lack of administrative skills.
In 2005, Archbishop Daniel Beekline opened the cause for canonization for servant of God, Bishop Simon Broutet. Bishop Broutet was succeeded in turn by Bishops Célestin du Hellandière, Jean Bazin, Jacques-Maurice du Saint-Palais. While they continued his work, it was likely Mother Theodore Guerin who had the most profound impact on Catholic schools. She came from France in 1840 to found the Sisters of Providence of St. Mary of the Woods.
She was a very energized person who wanted to establish schools immediately when she arrived here. And so she went to areas where there were Catholics and non-Catholics to begin these schools. And she included Catholics and non-Catholics in the education of children.
In addition to the Sisters of Providence, other religious orders would also contribute greatly to Catholic education in the Archdiocese. Theirs is a living endowment of service that has sustained the Catholic schools to this day. Now, by the Third Plenary Council of Baltimore in 1884, Catholic education was well established. This gathering of United States bishops was perhaps the most important meeting in the history of Catholic schools in this country.
Well, the bishops decreed that all parishes would establish Catholic schools in their parishes within 2 years. And that meant that all Catholic families needed to send their children to Catholic schools. They were bound to do this. They had no choice. And that would be in effect until the early 1970s.
In Indiana, Bishop Francis Silas Chittard vigorously carried out the new mandate, and 40 new schools were built during his episcopacy. Under the leadership of Bishop Joseph Chartrand, Catholic education continued to expand. Despite World War I, the Klan, and the stock market crash, by the end of Bishop Chartrand's episcopacy in 1933, 126 out of 147 parishes had elementary schools. But when Joseph Elmer Ritter became bishop in 1934, Catholic education wasn't open to everyone. 4 years later, he would start to change that, instructing the Catholic schools to integrate and open their doors to all. The Smith family of Indianapolis remembers it well.
I think things began to mellow down by the time we got through the first year. I mean, in any school, you've got to learn the rules of the school. And if we'd gone in and said, well, they're changing their rule because we're black kids, then we'd had trouble all along. But we were convinced that things were going to work out because, you know, moms come home, let's say the family rosary, and let's find out what we need to do to make sure things are working well in our lives. So that was how we really managed to get through it.
Now, by the end of his episcopacy here in 1946, the Archdiocese was educating over 16,000 students within its present boundaries. The boom was just beginning. Hey, in 1946, the greatest generation was busy creating the baby boom generation, and the Catholic population doubled. Archbishop Paul Schulte responded rapidly by opening new parishes and schools, especially in the booming suburbs around Indianapolis and Louisville.
Well, you know, back in those days, we built the school first and had temporary worship space that would eventually become a gym or an auditorium. And so often the worship spaces were referred to as churchatoriums or church gymnasiums.
This building boom caused the churches to really have a hard time of staffing and building those schools. It became known as the crisis of success.
Sisters were teaching classes of 60 to 80 students in primary grade classrooms. Fortunately, a surge in religious vocations helped staff the schools. And I'm sure, as many of you will remember, the sisters, the brothers, and priests had no trouble maintaining discipline. The work begun by Bishop Routet and St. Theodora so long ago had reached its high point in the mid-60s. Over 46,000 students were attending 109 Catholic schools. The baby boom was winding down in 1970. Archbishop George Biscop would soon be confronted with the most profound changes to affect Catholic education since the 1880s.
The United States bishops published To Teach as Jesus Did in 1972. The bishops stated Catholic schools were just one way for Catholic parents to educate their children in the faith.
So for the first time in 90 years, parents would no longer be required to send their children to Catholic schools. This created a very new and challenging situation.
It was a very confusing time, and we didn't know how we were going to do it or what we were going to do. Everything was up in the air.
Over half of the Catholic schools in the nation were closed by 1980. We found ourselves in the unfamiliar position of having to market Catholic schools to parents. This was not well understood at first, but we learned how. When Archbishop Edward T. O'Mara was installed in 1979, this period of great change had built momentum. By 1990, enrollment had dropped by more than 50% from our peak to 18,663 students. Significant local efforts were begun to secure the future of Catholic schools, including a bold initiative by an Indianapolis businessman to make Catholic education possible for low-income families.
J. Patrick Rooney, the chairman of the board of Golden Rule Insurance, came up with a brainstorm of an idea to form a Choice Charitable Trust Fund. And the Choice Fund would issue grants to low-income families so that they actually had a choice of where they could send their children to school.
Meanwhile, the Archdiocese of Indianapolis became one of the first dioceses in the country to aggressively market Catholic schools.
Make Catholic school your school of choice. or as an alternative to another school. Act now. Get a free information pack.
The campaign worked and helped reverse a 25-year decline in Catholic school enrollment.
And the installation ceremony for Archbishop Daniel Beekline begins with great solemnity.
The Most Reverend Daniel M. Beekline was installed as the Archbishop of Indianapolis in 1992. He lost no time in forging a partnership of parishes, corporate, and civic community leaders to keep the Center City schools open. He made the case in a simple and eloquent way.
Providing excellent education, the investment that it requires gets larger and larger, and it's something that we can't continue to provide on our own. And so we ask those who have a vested interest in Center City to help us do it.
To keep the schools open, we needed lots of money. In 1995, Archbishop Daniel launched the Making a Difference campaign, the first involvement of the Archdiocese with the Indianapolis corporate community as partners in supporting Catholic schools.
We believe that the business community needs to make these funds available for the parochial Center City schools because of the job they're doing.
The campaign not only raised $1.4 million to keep the Center City schools open, it helped create a lasting relationship with business and government.
The presence in terms of values and spirituality and education that the Archdiocese presents is critical to the future of the city.
Building on the success of Making a Difference campaign and to maintain the awareness of the value of Catholic schools, the Archdiocese launched the first Celebrating Catholic School Value event in 1996.
Despite these successes, Catholic schools were still in great need. To meet challenges of deferred maintenance, facility upgrades, and endowment growth, the Archdiocese would embark on a major capital campaign in the late 1990s.
It was the first ever archdiocesan-wide campaign that we had, and called Legacy of Hope, from generation to generation. And as a result of that campaign, I would say nearly every Catholic school building in the Archdiocese was either renovated in some way or in some cases new buildings were actually built. It was a building boom that the Catholic Church hadn't seen since the 50s.
One result of building communities of hope was the construction of two of the first new inner-city Catholic schools built in the country over the last 40 years. One of us who recalls the day that we broke ground at Holy Angels is Father Ken Taylor, now the pastor at Holy Angels.
The day of the groundbreaking of the new Holy Angels School was such an exciting day for the parish and the community. We overcame all kinds of odds, and we're creating something new.
It's a good day, it's a great day, it's been a long time coming, hallelujah.
You know, if that wasn't enough, the day ground was broken for the Holy Cross School renovations will also remain in our memories as one of the greatest moments in Archdiocesan history.
Let us now begin this work by breaking the ground in the name of the God who has made it possible.
Come, let's build a holy city. Come, let's build a family. Come, let's build a new tomorrow where all people will be free. We can be a holy people living in the light of God. Come, let's build a holy city.
And giving them a good education as a foundation for their future, there's nothing that's a better investment than that.
We journeyed together, but the end result was phenomenal.
Since 1995, 6 new schools have opened, and by 1999, over 25,000 students were attending our Catholic schools. Today, throughout the Archdiocese, from Center City, Indianapolis to rural southern Indiana, the process of Catholic education continues. Yes, the one-room schoolhouse is gone, and today Hispanic and African American students have taken their places, along with their predecessors from France, Ireland, Italy, and Germany. And yet, the fundamental mission of Catholic education here in the Archdiocese of Indianapolis has not changed since the very first Catholic schools were established so long ago.
We're good in academics. We're very good in academics. We're proud of what we have been able to do. It hasn't changed for 175 years, nor should it change. It's the mission that keeps us together on our journey.
This is a worthy mission, one that requires your continuing partnership and participation in the days ahead as we join together today, just as our forebears did, to meet the challenges of their times.
I feel strongly that if Bishop Simon Broutet or St. Mother Theodore Guerin looked down on us and saw what we were able to do and continue to do in our Catholic school education today, the smiles would be wonderful. We would feel proud.
We have a spirit and a shared experience and a deep gratitude for their legacy of faith and leadership.
You said it. Very good. Very nice coloring.
Your very own design. Oh, that's great.
Hi, kids.